Good evening and welcome back to another down and dirty how-to with bugs. For tonight, we're going to take a look at the new application, or the application, I should say, of the new dynamic fog and dust to DCS. I've been getting quite a few comments about this, asking how I get it to work and whatnot. So tonight, I'm going to show you guys the no bullshit way on how to do that. The first thing that I do want to say is make sure you guys are upgraded or updated to the most recent version of DCS. Otherwise, it is not going to work for you guys. So just keep that in mind. So what we're going to do is let's go in, let's create a new mission. Yeah, we'll just get rid of all this right now. Let's go here. That okay, so you guys could see this is a brand new mission. There's no settings that I tweaked with or changed in the background. I'm not holding out on you guys. It's a brand new mission. So let's go here. Let's add an airplane. Let's just add the F-14 because why not? All right. We're going to go take off from ramp. I'm going to have the jet off for you guys. And we always fly with VF-84's colors. The VF-84, now VFA-103. So we're going to do that. Okay. So now that that's all set, what we're going to want to do is we're going to come over to our date, time, and weather. We're going to click that. Now, one of the confusing points is, oh, it's the dynamic fog, dynamic dust, blah, 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 or et cetera, however you guys want to look at it. You can see dynamic. Let's click that. Don't click that just yet. Instead, keep on static. And let's scroll all the way down here. So down to the bottom of this tab on your right side, you're going to see fog and dust storm. You can have one of the two enabled at a time. That's just the way it is with the program. There's nothing I could do about that. So we're going to start with fog. So you have three modes: off, auto, and manual. The way I set them for my missions is manual. And then you guys see you just got a few other options to play around with. Make sure this checkbox over here, sync to mission start time, is enabled. So what that's going to do is once the mission launches, the dynamic fog in this aspect is going to start doing its thing. So what we're going to do here is you see the one key right here. The mission start time 0800. It matches up with what we have here at 0800. Let's add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Let's just add 6 for now, and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do here. I'm going to set them in 1 minute increments, or I'm going to set them, yes, within 1 minute increments. So within the span of 5 minutes, we're going to have completely zero visibility. And then if you guys just reverse that, which I'll show you after this one, we'll have it dissipate and burn off. So what we're going to do is your left side, first of all, you have these two boxes here, your hour and minute. Focus on this right side column first, because that's going to be within your hour range. And then if you want to advance it later on in the mission, you can change the hour setting by here. So now we're, as you guys can see, this is at 0. This one's at 1. So now we're at 0900 as opposed to 0800. Just pay attention and be mindful to that. I made that mistake and wondered why nothing worked. And then I looked at it later on. It's like, because I set it 8 hours ahead of schedule. So like if you come over here and say you think it's going to be 8:20, it's at 16:20. So it's advancing it by a few hours. So you have to be mindful of that. So we're going to keep this on 0 here. And like I said, I'm just going to step this by 1 minute each. So we could, just for the sake of the video, we're just going to advance this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go there. We're going to delete this one. Okay. So now from here, we have our time set. So mission start 0800, and then we have our different settings for our fog. You guys set them how you see fit for the mission that you're creating and the scenario that you're flying in. I'm going to show this with the light scattered, which is the default when you create a mission, and then I'm going to show it with overcast and rain, just so you guys can see how much more difficult it actually gets. So from here, we have our visibility and our thickness column. Now, one thing to note is if you hover over this for a second, if you set it to 0, you're going to have no fog. So if you bring this all the way here, that's going to be no fog at all. So for the sake of the beginning of this, we're going to come in from 0. And then from here, we're going to bring this for the last one, 0 feet with the maximum thickness for as much fog as we can imagine. So you set these sliders as you guys see fit for what you guys need and are trying to accomplish. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to gradually make this worse and worse for us. So we're going to start unlimited visibility with no fog, and within 5 minutes, we're going to have 0 visibility with all the fog. So now you guys see that's a completely fresh mission. Let's hit this little X here. Flight, fly mission, save, yes. Save your mission. Let's weather test. Okay. And I screwed up already because I didn't make the pilot a player pilot. Let's fix that. Okay. That was my bad. Sorry about that. Let's do that again. Flight, fly mission, yes, save. Okay, here we go. So now I'm not going to be flying in this one for you guys. I just want you guys to see how the weather works through, and I'm going to talk you through it as it's happening. Like I said, we are in a cold and dark jet right now. So the mission goal for this is not flying, it's the fog and dust. So here we go. All right, so we're going to go to an F2 view really quick. Now you guys can see off in the distance, the fog's starting to layer in. It is definitely a hot day. You can see the heat effect coming off the tarmac. Let's jump back into the cockpit here. Now, normally when I fly from here, you guys could see the buildings in the distance off to the coast. It's starting to close in off to our 10, 11 o'clock. And off to our 12 o'clock. It's starting to get a little bit worse, as you guys can see over here. It's starting to close in a little bit. And then after the 5-minute point with this, all the fog is going to burn off because we don't have anything set from that point on. So now we pretty much lost visibility over our left shoulder. We're still continuing to lose visibility to our 10, 11 o'clock-ish. And now you guys can really see the fog coming in off our nose. So let's go to an F2 view really quick. Let's get up close next to the big fighter. Then it's getting pretty foggy out. Why my one nozzle is open and one is closed, I have no idea. Okay, now we're starting to lose a pretty good amount of visibility off our nose. Down off our coast is completely closed in. Our 10-11 is completely closed in. So you guys can see it's working in gradually as we have the sliders set for it to do so. And now for all intent and purpose, we have zero visibility to the buildings off our nose. So we're getting closed in pretty good. Well, let's see how long it takes for this tower here to disappear and for these signs off the runway to disappear. Alright, so it's getting pretty hazy to be able to see just the other side of the parking area on this runway, or off the runway I should say, on this airbase. But right now we're getting pretty heavy into it. Now you guys can see all the marker lights just came on. Now our visibility is really diminishing rather quickly. It's almost like it's nighttime out as far as the lighting is concerned for the airport. So you guys see how that rolled in, and now we're starting to come out of it. And now it's going to start to burn off. Here come the buildings back into sight. Our 10, 11 o'clock is starting to clear up. We can see over our left shoulder down to the coast again. And there are our mountains off to our right shoulder. So that's how the fog is set if you want it to roll in. Now we're going to really quick show it set in already and then burning off gradually. And then we'll switch to a rainy overcast kind of scenario. So let's go back to a mission editor. come back to our time and weather. So now what we're going to do is, instead of having the pyramid going this way, we're going to invert this. So at mission start, we're going to have 0 visibility with all the fog, and then 5 minutes in, we're going to have unlimited visibility and no fog. So let's set these up really quick like that. Okay, so now we have this little tree, I guess you guys can say, inverted. So let's go fly mission, save, yes. And let it load up. And here we go. So you guys see the fog is setting in for the start of the mission the way that we set it to. The visibility is rapidly deteriorating at the start. It's not instant, so you guys are gonna have to work with that, but it just makes it that much more interesting in my opinion, to be honest. Alright, so we're going to be sitting in this for a little bit longer than we were previously. So how much more darker it just got. Okay, so now we have the fog fully set in for the mission start. Now what we're going to be waiting for as time goes on, and again it's still within the same 5-minute window, it's going to start to burn off and dissipate. And that's just another way you guys can use this. If you want to fluctuate it throughout the mission, you can. I'll show you that really quick after this, before we go into the overcast, so you guys can see the visibility difference in that, and then we'll jump into the dust storm aspect. So as you guys can see, we're still sitting in a pretty good layer of fog. That little tower off to our 12 o'clock off our nose, it's a little bit more difficult to see than it was before. We have absolutely 0 visibility on any of the buildings around us. Our runway our parking area over there was still closed in a little bit more than it was earlier. But now we can see the sun starting to break through. Now we should see things starting to increase in visibility as the fog starts to burn off. The first thing we should be able to see are going to be the buildings that are right off of our nose from where we are. And I'm also doing this on the Persian Gulf map, just in case you guys were wondering. This is universal for all of the maps throughout DCS. So just follow these settings for whatever you're trying to create, no matter which map, and it will work for you guys. So now as you guys can see, like I said, there are buildings off our nose. They're starting to come back in. The fog's starting to burn off. Let's look over to our 10, 11 o'clock. See that tower starting to come into view over there. There's still nothing off of our left shoulder yet, and nothing really off our right shoulder just yet. Alright, there they are. As you can see, it's continuing to burn off as we go. And here comes the visibility off our left shoulder. And there's some of it off our right. Okay, so we pretty much regained unlimited visibility off our nose, which is cool. There we have a little bit more coming in off our 10, 11 o'clock area over here. And now you guys can see that our coastline is really starting to come into sight. So, with that being said, that's how to set the fog to go thicker to nothing or vice versa. And like I said, what you guys could do if you want is go back into that same tab, and now you can stagger these as you guys see fit. And you could add different layers of fog to come in and out at different times. Okay, so that'll make the flight a little bit more interesting, dynamic, and difficult. Just like I said, set your different time keys for how long you want. The only reason I'm doing within 5 minutes, like I said, is for the sake of the video. But you can set these to be within a half an hour, 15 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever. The possibilities are endless for what you guys want to do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back and we're going to reset this way, and we're going to actually make this a little bit thicker for the last little part of the fog demonstration for you guys, just because. And what we're going to do is we're going to show it with overcast and rain. So the visibility is really going to get pretty dicey. So to change that, scroll back up, come to your preset here for your clouds and atmosphere, double click that, and if you guys want it to be raining, click one of the overcast and rain buttons, or presets rather, or one of the light rain presets. So for this one, we're going to go overcast and rain 3. Okay. That little X up here again. Let's get out of that. You guys can also click this button again and it'll get you back out of that. Fly mission, save, yes. And let's go. Okay. So it's going to be the same thing that you guys can see. The visibility is already pretty horrific, but it's going to get worse. All right, so we're sitting here getting soaked now, but that's okay. The visibility is not that great to begin with. We can't see anything off our nose, including that little tower that we had before, right over here. It's rather obscured by the rain, but if you stick it out of the canopy, because it is open right now on the jet, you can see it right there. So now as the fog starts to set in, the visibility is going to get a lot worse than what it is. And as you guys can see already, even with our head out of the canopy, you can see none of the buildings up in front of us. Alright, here comes the fog starting to roll in. These light poles are starting to get a little bit more hazy than they were. And our visibility looking upwards is not that great either. Alright, here come the runway lights and the marker lights now. You see it's starting to settle in off our left shoulder a little bit more. And then now one light pole over there. It's starting to get very difficult to see. And you can see it changing, the sky changing different colors as it's going on. That's the fog working with the sun and the clouds in the background. So now this tower just got even more difficult to see because it's blanketed in a little bit of fog right now. Now you can see it's starting to set in heavy. Now really none of the light poles are visible except this guy right here, vaguely that guy right there, and this one right here. And now our tower is almost completely socked in. We can't even see the tarmac on that parking area anymore. And now all the light poles are gone. We can't see them. As well as that tower, now that's gone. And even the oil tanks or the fuel tanks on the opposite side. There they are. Those just disappeared just as well. So now it's starting to burn off again. Here are our light poles. You can see our tower again. Now we can see the tarmac on that parking area. I think you guys get the general gist of that. It just makes it that much more difficult than it would be flying with the fog on a sunny day. So, with that being said, let's jump in and I'll show you guys the dust setting really quick. So we're going to go back to our weather tab. Let's go bring it back to our light scattered 2 for our default setting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come to the fog box here. We're going to turn that off. Like I said earlier, you can't have the fog and dust at the same time. So make sure that's off. Dust storm, click enable, and it even tells you that you can't have this enabled with dust. And if you shut that off, you can't have dust enabled with fog. So let's go dust storm. Oops, wrong button. Good job, bugs. Okay, enable dust storm. And we're going to bring our visibility down to 0. And we're going to... If it's anything like the fog, let me just double check this really quick for you guys. Okay, so we're going to bring that all the way up. And so it really... Oh, we'll bring it up like that. Actually, you know what? Let's bring it to 3000 just because visibility. Oh, I see what. Okay. I see what it's doing. So the more that you increase your visibility slider, the more that's going to increase. So we're going to bring this down to 0 here. Flight Fly mission, save, start, and let it load up again. And as you can see, we're started in a dust storm. With absolutely zero visibility. And so we can manage to take off and whatnot, but once you start trying to fly through this and try to land, things start to get a little bit more dicey. And as you guys can see, all of our marker lights on the runway and the taxiways are on. The visibility can get quite dicey, and it can fluctuate up and down here and there, so just keep that in mind. As you're coming in on your final for this, make sure you pay attention to your instruments. Just keep calm, cool, and collective, like I've said in previous videos, and you guys will be fine. You can see how the clouds are shifting around now. Things are starting to change a little bit. It's a lot brighter over here than it was before. That doesn't help anything, so you guys got to watch with that. Now it's starting to change again and shift around a little bit. We have zero visibility to our mountains at all. We can't see any of the buildings. The tower's still pretty visible. Our light poles, for the most part, still are. We have zero anything for any buildings in the area, so if you guys are going to be flying low, keep that in mind as well. As you guys see, it's starting to burn off now a little bit. And you can see the clear blue sky over here, but we still got some pretty nasty stuff looking over here and out ahead of us off our nose. You guys could just maybe make it out through the dust. There's the first thing visible, is that little tower right there. And then you see the buildings are starting to come into view a little bit. Off our nose is clearing off first, and everything is starting to blow and settle away. So let's jump back into a mission editor really quick. Okay. So if we want to make this a little bit more difficult with the dust storm, why don't we come over to here really quick. Let's go overcast 7. Okay. There's a dust storm. Zero visibility again. Flight, fly mission. Let's save everything as before. Okay, here we go. Now we have an even more of a difficult situation. We have overcast and a dust storm that we're in the middle of. You can see the visibility really is horrible. The tower over here is not as visible as it was before. We can vaguely see some of the light poles over here. All of our lights are on around the perimeter of the runway and the taxiways again. The clouds you can see moving around. You guys can get much more in depth with it if you set your wind directions and whatnot with the couple little arrows that are underneath where your weather settings are for your atmospherics. I'm not going to get into that with this one. This is how to set the fog and dust. I hope you guys really found that helpful and enjoyed. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe for more. And until the next sortie, strap in, arm up the seat, and keep flying. More Down and Dirties coming soon.